Hi guys, Yuri and Veronica here with Impact Krav Maga in San Diego. Today we're talking about defenses against a particular type of knife stab. Now let me first show you the attack. I'll grab the knife real quick. The attack that we're dealing with is, don't do anything for a second, this type of attack. So of course left or right hand coming from below up. So of course usually more than one stab, quite aggressive, quite violent type of action. Now when we teach this in the regular classes, we often talk about keep it simple. Simple means defend, counter strike, create distance, finish with a strong kick, get away. And generally speaking, this is the safest approach when dealing with weapons, especially knives. Knives are only, generally speaking, dangerous at close range, and if we can create enough damage and distance that we can escape, usually the knife cannot hurt us anymore. But we often get questions as to how come we don't teach controls and so on. And we don't emphasize controls because of several reasons. We don't emphasize them, generally speaking, because of the fact that the person with the knife is very, very aggressive. And because they're so aggressive, the more you're thinking about controlling, the more you have to bring yourself closer to the attacker. And the closer you bring to the attacker, the more likely you're going to get hurt in the process. So we want to create distance, not go in. But we do teach controls, and we do teach them more in advanced curriculum. So let us show you the basic solution, then we'll show you the controls, and we'll talk about the nuances of the controls. Because the more you understand the nuances, the more you understand how it's finicky and how not so easy it is to control an attacker who is really meaning to do you harm. The basic one first. So in this case, very basic. Call it 360 defense. One arm is doing a strong block. Weight is shifted towards the blocking arm. Pinky side, 90-degree more or less bend at the elbow. Pinky side of the arm is driving towards the wrist of the attacker. At the same time, this other hand is attacking, finishing with strong kicks, moving away. This is the basic principle. Now we'll show you the control. One more time. So what are we doing here? Very similar concept. We are doing strong blocks. Striking, moving, wrapping the arm, finishing the fight with strong strikes. And here we have this disarming or just simply disengaging, moving away. Let's understand this last one a little bit more because it's not such an easy technique to execute, and here's where people get hurt a lot. So keeping it simple, like we showed you originally, is a better option. But let's look at it a little bit. So the first thing that's happening here is the basic 360 defense. Now from this position, one arm is blocking, one hand is punching. Now let's say that everything is static, which it never is in reality, but let's say at this moment everything is static. If I go to control right now, you see what's happening? I'm moving myself into the knife, right here. So I cannot control too early. The only time I can control is when the knife is past or the level of her hip. At this point, the control is more manageable. Definitely safer for me, and it's actually easier to execute. Now, we set this up by saying, let's imagine everything is static. The reality is nothing is static. Not only that, but the reality is that attacker doesn't just stop in one stab and waits for you to control and do whatever you want to do to them. So they're probably stabbing multiple times. If they're stabbing multiple times, I have to ensure that I, again, don't rush the control, and as you recoil, I miss it. And as if I miss it now, of course, I'm getting stabbed and so on. So the idea is, same principle, I have to drive the defense past her hip, and only now I can control and secure the arm. So what that means is, as I'm doing the defense, I'm moving, keeping this 90-degree bend. It's like a shield. It stays with me anywhere I go. This foot moves forward. Once I reach the desired position, now I control. Okay, now let's take a look even more realistically. What happens when you punch a person? When you punch a person, generally speaking, several things can happen. You can stun them. So they're, you call it groggy or out of it, they're just standing put, but they're not moving much. Other things that can happen, they can fall to the ground, or they can move because of the strike, meaning the strike sends them backwards. Now let's take the last one, where you punch and they move back. What happens if they move? I'll punch, you move. What you see happening is, as she is stepping back because of my punches, it's no longer possible for me to chase her and wrap the arm. The more I chase an attacker who is very active and moving, the more likely, again, I'm going to get hurt in the process. So again, we always think simplicity. Simplicity is the basic solution. Regardless of her actions, after the initial contact, I always want to have a shield, a sword or a spear, a punch that comes in and actively hurts the person, and ultimately finish with a kick, get yourself to safety. But if I need to control, it can only be done in certain circumstances, and those are usually if I know exactly how I'm doing this, like driving her arm past her hip and now wrapping. And even here, there's all these nuances of the wrap itself, which we have not discussed. And ultimately, if she's still where she is. But if I punched her so hard, or I punch the attacker and they fall back or they go to the ground, there's nothing to control anymore. So the reason why we don't emphasize this in the regular class is simply because the success of it working under real conditions is very minimal. Keep it simple. Keeping it simple is the best way to be safe. It's the most instinctive way. It's what Krav Maga is all about. Thanks for watching the video. Again, Yuri and Veronica here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay tuned for more videos.